It is Monday, the 12th of February. Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us as we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 10 days ahead. And why are we doing 10 days? Well, there's not really a lot to talk about, so we might as well go out as many days as we possibly can. Let's have a look at the animated wind map today, showing air pressure. So the bright white shows the center of the next high coming in, and the darker shading up here shows what was almost a named tropical cyclone. It was so close for about 3 days in a row, but never actually got there. And now the energy being spread out further, so it sort of lost those gale force winds at the center, but certainly providing some a little bit of wind, mostly rain for Fiji, and it's going to drift eastwards and may still form into a cyclone in the coming week. But for the New Zealand area, high pressure is here, and it's driving in a slightly cooler southerly, although you probably notice that's fading away very quickly as the daytime heat kicks in. And at the bottom end of it, windy westerlies are about to return. So by Tuesday, it is warmer now for Southland and Otago after what was a bit of a cold weekend. So the temperatures will start to lift up nationwide. The winds are light. There might be an isolated shower or two at the top and the bottom of the country, but generally speaking, it's dry and warming up as the high rolls in and also as those nor'westers start to kick in. By Wednesday, we've got a windy nor'wester. It's subtropical in nature for some of you as well. So if you're in Southland and Otago, South Canterbury, those places are going to go right up into the upper 20s, and we might even see it getting over the 30-degree mark. Make the most of it though, because unfortunately, that's the next cold front coming in for Thursday, and the temperatures are going to drop. Elsewhere, it's a pretty hot day, or at least a warm one. Daytime highs for a lot of places around the mid-20s, but it might go up further towards that 30-degree mark. But there is a temperature drop on Thursday. Up comes the cold front. So those of you in the south, like Invercargill and Dunedin, your daytime highs will drop by about 10 degrees, give or take, and some other areas inland may drop by even more than that, like Lumsden and Balfour, and other areas that were quite hot on the Wednesday. So Thursday's a little cooler. It's not as wet as it looks. There will be a few showers around, but most of the rain is over on the west coast, not so much in Southland and Otago, and a couple of showers isolated elsewhere as well, and that nor'wester picks up around Wellington. By the time we get to Friday, the winds are starting to ease, and the front's falling apart. With all that high pressure, both out to the east and to the west, that cold front is struggling to move up the country. And I've used this analogy before, but it's a little bit like a human being trying to run in a swimming pool. And you might have all the best intentions, but you get halfway into it and you're like, this is hard work. I can't be bothered. That's kind of what the front's doing. It may not be thinking I can't be bothered, but it technically can't be bothered. So it's going to fall apart. Now that could leave behind a mixture of both drizzle patches, but also some isolated downpours, maybe even a thunderstorm, as well as that moisture and the daytime heating kind of combine as the day wears on. So by Saturday, that front pretty much has gone, but you do still see some showers. So yes, the front's fallen apart, but that moisture is still in the atmosphere. So you put that with some daytime heating and light winds with the high, and that's the perfect recipe for seeing a mixture of early drizzle and then afternoon downpours. Up in the tropics, this could be our next tropical cyclone coming in towards the Cook Islands, but definitely not locked in. And for Australia, lots of easterly winds and also another potential storm up there as well. So as we go into Sunday for New Zealand, it's not a great deal of change. High pressure over both islands. There's still the risk of a shower or two, maybe some thunderstorms out at sea, might be an isolated thunderstorm into the afternoon here. And down in Southland, a little bit of wet weather is sort of around the Fovo Strait area. So Invercargill might get a few showers, but nothing much. And the further north you go, basically it dries out. So next week, well, a little bit of a different system coming in next week. It's windy on Monday with west to northwest winds. So it'll be a hot day in many places on Monday. But this is a low pressure zone with a cold change behind it. So that's the cold front with heavy rain coming into Fiordland. And so by the time we get to Tuesday of next week, that cold front can race up the country because it doesn't have that big block of high pressure stopping it. There is high pressure up here to the north of New Zealand, but that front should go right up the top. Now, there may not be very much rain for Waikato, Bay of Plenty, Auckland and Northland. Might have the risk of a downpour, but for the most part, not a lot of rain. But the whole country by the end of Tuesday gets that nationwide air conditioning switch back on again, kind of like what we had yesterday, Sunday. Now, obviously today, Monday, it's hotter, but by Tuesday next week, 8 days from now, we will see a temperature drop. And it lingers into Wednesday of next week as well. The next high slowly coming in, still have that southerly flow in many places, so it won't be quite as hot, but very hot over here in Adelaide. You could be getting closer to 40 degrees. And that's just a little precursor to what might be coming in behind that high, hot northerly winds for the end of next week. And the Cook Islands, low pressure zone there, whether it's a cyclone or not, it's like the other one, very borderline. So it's kind of a high risk for cyclone formation, but at the same time, it's complicated and borderline. So I hope that does make sense. But there's a lot of energy up here, but it doesn't quite have the perfect conditions to form into cyclones. And we can thank the big highs over New Zealand that are expanding all the way up into the tropics. As you can see, this one goes all the way up to Vanuatu and north of Fiji. So it's a really big block of high pressure. That is part of the reason why that storm is limited and why you're not seeing all these cyclones forming, despite the fact that there's a number of lows up in the tropics at the moment. So there you go. That's your 10-day forecast. A lot of high pressure coming into New Zealand. Still got some cold fronts. The most active weather certainly down around Fiordland and Southland for the next week ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow, Tuesday, with our next update, and we'll take another look at what's going on in the tropics. We'll see you then.